Real Virginia is proudly produced by the Virginia Farm Bureau Federation. Since 1926, Farm Bureau has been working to preserve Virginia farms and our rural heritage. Visit our website at vafb.com.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay, Atlantic to Appalachia, home in my heart always.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Real Virginia, a show about Virginia agriculture and the people who produce all of the wonderful products we enjoy, brought to you by the Virginia Farm Bureau. Some former Virginia tobacco growers are gambling with a new crop this year. Chef John Maxwell features fresh Virginia spinach in this week's recipe. And some young Virginians are learning to raise bees before they can even drive. Welcome back to Real Virginia, everyone. We're coming to you from a farm in Goochland County this week where they keep some bees, and we'll be talking about bees later on in the program. But first, tobacco was Virginia's top cash crop for centuries, but things are evolving in Virginia tobacco country. Burke Moeller visited with a grower who's enthusiastic about a new crop, industrial hemp.
Robert Mills is one of more than 500 Virginia farmers turning over a new leaf this spring by growing hemp in fields once used primarily for tobacco crops.
With the current tariff situation and the lack of contract volume because of the Chinese not purchasing tobacco in 2018 and 19, there were a lot of tobacco farmers that were short when it came contract time. And the timing was perfect with an opportunity for us to grow industrial hemp.
With demand for tobacco way down, Mills says Virginia tobacco growers are ideally suited to take on the budding hemp market. The two crops are grown in similar fashion and can be dried in the same barns. But there's one big difference between the two crops that's holding hemp back.
There is no crop insurance, so there is no safety net, and there's a tremendous amount of input cost when growing industrial hemp. So there is quite a bit of risk, but anytime you have large risk, you also have a potential for large reward.
The 2018 Farm Bill removed industrial hemp from the list of restricted products, and the Virginia General Assembly approved growing it commercially this year. Mother Nature can also be a big obstacle.
We take hail and wind insurance on tobacco because a tobacco leaf that's broke up that really has no value. Same thing with the flowers on industrial hemp. If those flowers get damaged, then those flowers are not marketable. So that is, the weather is going to play one of the largest obstacles that we could potentially have here in growing industrial hemp this year.
Although growing industrial hemp is a new opportunity for present-day Virginia farmers, the crop has been around for hundreds of years. Hemp production essentially stopped after World War II because of its similarity to marijuana. Both hemp and marijuana are grown from the cannabis plant, but it's the THC, the hallucinogenic chemical that's inside the plant, that gets you high. So Virginia farmers are allowed to only grow hemp with less than 0.3% THC. Any crops with more will be destroyed. All industrial hemp growers are licensed by the state, and there will be inspections. What's driving the new market for industrial hemp? Consumer demand for cannabidiol oil, or CBD, is growing fast. Small businesses like this retail store in Richmond sell the product, and it can be ordered online. Jennifer Elliott opened Your CBD store in March 2019. Many of her customers are eager to learn more about CBD and hemp.
I just make sure they know that even though it is kind of a strain or related to marijuana, this is the industrial hemp product, and you're going to get all the medical benefits of that you would get with marijuana. You're just not going to get the high.
Elliott's store has everything from protein bars and protein powder to liquid CBD that goes under the tongue.
We're inside of them all here, and we get a lot of walkers here. A lot of them are elderly, so we get a lot of people that come in here for pain relief.
Stafford resident Maria Dockstader has been taking CBD oil to alleviate some of her pain from multiple back surgeries.
It did relieve the pain somewhat. Doesn't take it all away, and it's not a magic cure for anything, but it does relieve the pain. And when you suffer from chronic pain, it affects your whole life.
Dockstader says she knows at least 10 other friends who are using CBD oil for pain relief, but it's not just her friends who are on board.
I've explained to my doctors that I use the CBD oil, And they told me if it works to continue using it.
Other consumers, especially those with an active lifestyle, are using hemp for their aches and pains. But because drug tests look for any THC, some workers could put their jobs in jeopardy for using CBD derived from hemp.
So truck drivers, equipment operators who may, or any business that has random drug testing, those employees are not able to use a CBD product. And those CBD is very helpful in a lot of ailments. And so that's something that's going to have to be taken into consideration, and maybe some legislation move forward on that to protect those individuals that are using a legal product that can be used for health purposes.
Despite these gray areas, Mills is still willing to give hemp a try for this growing season.
I'm optimistic that this has more potential than any other replacement or alternative crops for tobacco that I've seen in my lifetime.
It will be some time whether Mills knows whether his bet has paid off, but as long as people are looking for non-addictive treatments for dealing with life's aches and pains, it's likely the industrial hemp industry has a chance to flower and grow. In Pittsylvania County, Virginia, I'm Burke Moeller.
Hemp was grown for centuries in the U.S. before a federal ban on raising hemp and marijuana began in 1937 and was made permanent after World War II. Hemp fibers were used to braid rope for sailing ships, and it was used to make paper and lamp fuel in colonial Virginia. It was even required to be grown in some colonies. In the past 5 years, attitudes towards industrial hemp have changed significantly, and in the 2018 Farm Bill, the federal government lifted the ban on raising hemp. The 2019 Virginia General Assembly also approved hemp production. Now the race is on for growers to make a profit with this old crop that is new again.
I'm Mark Viette. Coming up on In the Garden, we're going to talk about what is killing my blue spruce. Stay with us.
Farm Bureau is the insurance provider of choice for farmers. But did you know all Virginians can benefit? In fact, most of our members are not farmers. Members may take advantage of discounts on selected autos, trucks, mowers, and tractors on top of the many insurance offerings. Your $40 membership will easily pay for itself with their many savings options as well. Farm Bureau is made for Virginians. To learn more about the membership advantage, go to vafb.com or visit your local Farm Bureau.
Blue spruce trees are an attractive part of many Virginia landscapes. Unfortunately, if you have one, Mark Viette says you may need to be looking for a substitute soon in the garden.
Many of us have planted blue spruce trees in our garden or around our home. Most of them look like this, nice and healthy, but many of them have been declining and dying back. And in many cases, it's caused by a fungal disease known as Cytospora canker. And it works its way up from the bottom, if you look here behind me, the tree, and the needles start falling off from the bottom and it goes all the way up to the top of the tree. The problem with this disease is there's no cure. I've researched it, I've tried different fungicides, I've sprayed these trees in my garden for no avail. Nothing has really worked. The key is going back to drought periods that we had maybe 10, 15 years ago. That is what started the onset of the disease. It puts the tree in a state where it becomes susceptible. So remember, with your blue spruce trees, when you're headed into drought seasons, you want to go ahead and make sure you irrigate and you feed them with a Spoma tree tone, and that should help them. At some point, you're just going to have to remove them, like I'm going to have to remove these, and replace them with a disease-resistant tree. One of the telltale signs for this canker is sap starts oozing out of the main trunk of the tree. And there's other places here, and as you look up, there's other places where the sap will ooze right out of the tree. The sap is not oozing because I pruned the branches back. The sap started oozing before I pruned these branches. What I've had to do is just limb them up, cut off the dead branches, but this is what the branches look like starting at the bottom. They start losing their needles from the inside of the branch all the way to the outside. Then it works its way all the way up the tree. Once you're at this point, like this tree, the only option you have is to remove it, or at some point the wind's going to blow it over because the lack of the root system's been failing. But again, irrigate them during drought periods and hot periods in the summer. Behind me, well, it was a dwarf blue spruce, bird's nest blue spruce, but one of the dwarf varieties. Well, after 40 years, it's really not dwarf, but it was affected by a disease. It's different than the canker. This is known as a disease that occurs in the spring, and it's called needle cast. And what happens is, over time, all the needles are dropped. It usually starts from the inside, works its way out. This is controllable with the fungicide. You have to spray something like Bonides Infuse, but you need to spray it in March. And at this point, we're just going to remove it and replace it with something else. I'm Mark Viette. Join me next time in the garden.
For more garden tips, go to inthegardenradio.com. Chef John Maxwell takes a family favorite recipe and mixes in some fresh Virginia spinach. Next, in the heart of the home.
And now, a sneak peek into a day in the life of a Virginia dairy cow. They get their day started. They have some lunch. Get some exercise. Spend time with their friends. And then end their day with dairy sweet dreams. Real dairy, real life, real delicious.
Virginia spinach is a healthy springtime treat. Chef John Maxwell takes an old family recipe and kicks it up to the next level with spinach in the heart of the home.
Hi, and welcome to the Heart of the Home. I'm Chef John Maxwell, and we're here at Meadow Hall and Meadow Event Park in Doswell, Virginia, a little north of Richmond, where every week we get a chance to play with lots of great Virginia food. Today we're going to be making a classic Italian in honor of my Italian grandmother. I've got a pot on here with some butter and oil, a little bit of butter, a little bit of olive oil. I'm getting hot. I've got some stock here that's already hot. I heated this, so you have to add the hot stock to this rice. And now I'm going to add the rice to that. All right. And stir this around. I'm going to let it get coated with the fat and cook for a little while on here. So I've got this. You can see that the rice is beginning to brown just a little bit. So I'm going to add some of this stock. All right. That first pour in will pull whatever's caramelized on the bottom of the pan up and into the rice itself. So I'm going to cut the heat down some. And the key with risotto is you need to keep stirring it. All right? I mean, you don't have to like stir it constantly, but you've got to pay attention and stir it. I'm going to add a little butter to this skillet. I'm going to melt that butter. Okay, I'm going to add some onions and let those cook. Now, if you pushed for time and you want to do it all in one pot, I could have done the onions in the same pot where I added the rice, but I like to have a drier pot when I'm browning off the rice, when I'm cooking off the rice. So. Okay, so the onion's nice and soft. I'm going back with this. Adding the onions to it. Now, I'm going to start adding this stock a little bit at a time. And what I'm going to do with this wooden spoon is kind of push these grains of rice around so that some of the starch can come out. It's going to form the liquid or almost like the glue that holds the risotto together. All right, and make it nice and creamy. So now I'm going to add some shallots. All right, and I'm going to add some basil chopped up. And I'm going to take a little bit of saffron, right, dissolve it in a little bit of white wine, mash that around, let it get some color. And that goes, and that color is going to jump out in a few minutes. I'm going to add some grated Parmesan cheese. I think I'm actually using Asiago here. You can use any kind of a hard cheese that's grated so it goes into the solution. Okay, now I'm going to add some spinach. Good Virginia spinach. Virginia's always been world famous for its spinach. I think that's small enough. We'll add that in there. And this will get stirred in. And I don't want this to cook too much. I've got the heat turned either down or off. Mine's down, mine's off. But the pot and the burner itself are staying hot. In your stove, you can do what you need to do. We don't want to have a cold surface to set the pot on, but it doesn't have to have live fire. Okay, now I want to take some basil. It's very aromatic. All right. Don't want it too small, but can you smell that? Yeah. Yeah, you can smell it. Delightful. Basil is one of my favorite herbs. I'm going to add a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. And now we're just going to let that absorb the stock. Now this can go underneath pretty much anything. Fish, chicken, pork. It can be anything. It's really delightful. All right. All right, we've got this beautiful dish in front of us. We got a little spinach garnish here. It needs one more thing. I've got a lemon here, and I'm going to just take a little bit of zest and zest this lemon. So it's just the yellow part is going over this dish. And as I do this, little bits of the lemon oil are spraying out over the top of the risotto. So it's going to make it a wonderful aroma and a nice flavor without being too acidic. So here we are, risotto with basil and spinach. A little saffron to give it some color. So join us next week on Heart of the Home, where we get to play with great Virginia food.
Recipes from the Heart of the Home can be found on the Virginia Farm Bureau website at vafb.com, as well as on Chef Maxwell's website at chefjohnmaxwell.com.
Spinach is a popular fresh vegetable in the Old Dominion. It's raised commercially on 181 farms, 5 times as many locations as 5 years ago. The majority of Virginia spinach is sold to local buyers at farmers markets or through community-supported agriculture operations. But you may be able to find some locally grown spinach at smaller grocery stores. Spinach is easy to grow and can be raised in the home garden. It doesn't take up much space and can even be grown in containers. It's a very nutritious vegetable, rich in calcium, magnesium, potassium, and vitamin A.
We have 37 parks across the Commonwealth. Every year, 10 million visitors enjoy 600 miles of trails from beaches to mountains, hundreds of cabins and campsites, even yurts. We are Virginia State Parks.
You're going to need me. You're going to need all of us. You're going to need the next generation of leaders to face the challenges the future will bring. And we promise we'll be there when you need us.
Beekeeping is not just an interesting hobby, it's vital to Virginia agriculture. Dave Miller reports young people are being introduced to the art of beekeeping at a critical time to help grow the bee population.
Doug Anderson is an engineer by trade. He was drawn into beekeeping by the social structure and complexity of the hives and is now president of the HUGEUNOT Beekeeping Association. The group meets monthly, and one of its goals is to bring young people into the activity.
A big important part of our club is our Young Beekeeper program, and that is open to kids 12 to 18 years old that have not had any beekeeping experience or exposure to it. Similar to farming, where the average age is going up of farmers, same with beekeepers. Your average age of beekeepers is going up and up, and we're trying to get more youth involved that will continue on beekeeping and carry the program on.
Because of disease and pest problems, close to a third of all Virginia beehives don't make it through the winter each year, so it's vital to rebuild bee populations in the spring. Virginia farmers rely on honeybees to pollinate a wide range of fruits and vegetables, from apples to zucchini. In fact, honeybees help pollinate 80% of the field crops in the U.S. A state program to provide free beehives to interested citizens ran out of funding in March after more than 2,500 people applied for one. 14-year-old Luke Penfield with the HUGEUNOT Beekeeping Association is one of thousands of Virginians who've already been involved in beekeeping.
That club had a special activity for young beekeepers, and so my older brother, he thought he would do it, so he entered and he actually won, and so he went for the first year and then decided beekeeping wasn't his thing, and so he handed it off to me. And beekeeping, it's like one of the greatest opportunities that I've ever got to do. My brother, when he quit, he left me all his stuff. So now I have the material and stuff for 4 hives, but I had 3 going into this winter. Then you lose stuff in the winter, they starve or get cold. And so I lost 2 of my hives, so now I'm down to 1 hive, which is actually doing really well. 1 hive can contain somewhere to 1,000 bees to 60,000 bees, but yeah, there are a lot of bees in a hive.
If you look closely into the hive itself, you can sometimes see the queen and all the activity around her. In this case, Anderson has marked the queen so he can track her movements around the hive.
So the worker bees are kind of going around her, and what they do is they'll groom her, they feed her and take care of her, but they also then will touch her, and her scent will then touch those bees, and they'll go touch other bees, and they spread that pheromone all around the hive. And as long as the bees know that pheromone is there, then they know that the queen is there and everything's good in the hive, so they can keep on working just like they normally would. Once a queen is gone, they will know within about an hour in the hive, depending on how big the hive is, they'll know the queen is not there, and they will start making preparations to make a new queen. They'll take a fertilized egg that is maybe up to 1 day being a larva, and they will then make a queen cell out of it, and they will feed it only royal jelly, which turns a worker egg into a queen cell.
The HUGEUNOT Beekeepers Association offers a Young Beekeepers Award to recruit young members. It provides a basic Langstroth beehive, a package of honeybees, and basic necessary beekeeping equipment, which includes hat, veil, hive tool, and smoker, free of charge. It also includes mentoring for 1 year. But Anderson says you don't have to win the award to get into the activity.
Getting young people involved to keep the hobby going and keep that alive and active as the age is increasing. We want to get more young people involved. And then just spreading it out. Anybody can be a beekeeper no matter where you live. There's a lot of people that are in subdivisions that have hives. There are a lot of people in the city that put them on roofs. So they are hives everywhere. And you can manage them just about anywhere. And so depending on how many you have and what location you have, you can be a small garden beekeeper, or you could be a sideline beekeeper and have 100 hives. The number one thing is education. So joining a club, going through a beginner beekeeping program, getting a mentor so that you know what you're doing into the hives. And if you know a beekeeper, ask them if you can join in as they inspect their hives. And the problem with the beekeeper is once you get them talking, it's hard to get them to stop. They're very friendly people.
Beekeeping is a rewarding activity for Virginians of all ages. It's especially encouraging to see young people learning how to work with nature and pollinating plants. And there's always the honey, which may be the sweetest reward of all. In Goochland County, Virginia, this is Dave Miller.
We're so glad you could join us this week to celebrate all the bounty that Virginia has to offer. From your kitchen to your lawn and garden to our wide open spaces, we're proud to say that this is real Virginia. So for everyone from the Virginia Farm Bureau, thanks for watching and make it a great week.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay.